Hello and welcome to my channel. Roisin Curie here, wishing you a happy new year. It's early January and I'm wishing you a very happy 2025. I hope it goes really well for you and all the good stuff that you hope to happen will happen for you. So I've just finished my last little sketchbook and it is covering the months of October to December 2024. So I guess, well, whatever that is, I don't know if it's 2 full months or 2.5, but we'll have a look and see how we get on. This is the little book in question. It's an A6 size Hahnemühle portrait format sketchbook and it is 100% cotton. Now this paper is a paper that I've discovered in the last couple of years and I love it. It really is gorgeous to paint on. It's smooth enough for any fountain pen and it's just, I don't know, there's something about the paper quality. It's fab. So I use it all the time these days and I really think that you should give it a try. It's a little bit pricier than perhaps some of the others. I use the 200 gram Hahnemühle watercolour sketchbook for a very long time and that's a beautiful book as well, but there's something about this paper that if you want to push the boat out, if you want to go a little bit luxury, then this is the one you will choose. Now I, as you probably know, invented a sketching bag in the last year. It's called a SketchPocket and I take it with me absolutely everywhere. It's fantastic for sketching on the fly. So you're going to see a few sketches from the train station where I go every week these days. And it's a great little bag. It's been available since the beginning of December and it is completely sold out now until the next consignment, which will be coming in at the end of January / beginning of February. So sit back and enjoy all the little sketches you're going to see and I'll tell you the story behind them as I go through them, and I'll of course share the tools and materials that I use for all my little ink and watercolour sketches. I hope you enjoy them. Well, here is the little book in question and this is a list of the colours that come in the paint set that comes in the SketchPocket, and it was a little video I made for the people who bought them. This is a sketch of Enniskerry Village in County Wicklow. I started a job in the Schoolhouse for Art in Enniskerry back in early November, and on the day that I went to meet the director, I sat outside after our little meeting and I did this sketch and I was so happy to be there. Now I grew up near the village of Enniskerry. I grew up about 3 miles from it, basically uphill all the way into the mountains, and many was the time that I caught the number 44 bus from Dublin City out to Enniskerry Village and then walked home in the pitch dark up into our home in the mountains. And that's just the way it was. I'm sure you can imagine how lovely it is for me to be back there now after all these years. And where I live now on the west coast of Ireland in County Galway is a very magical place, and I made this kind of fantasy map of the area. I could do an awful lot better with it, but it is just basically showing bits and pieces that I love about the area, like the seals that hang out on the coast, the dolphins, which I've never seen by the way, and the salmon in the river just behind my house. I live close to the river, very close to the river, the estuary at the top part of the sketch on the right hand side, and I like the way you can include pictures of the wind in that kind of fun illustrative style, and of course the little icon of the map in the bottom corner. And that was based on a sketch I'd done of the house at close quarters. And this house, as you might know from my videos, but you might not, it was built in 1789 and it was occupied for the next, I suppose, 130 years. It was burnt to the ground, well, burnt to the state you see it now, in 1922 during the Civil War. And that's how it looks at the moment. And I did this sketch to make a value sketch for my students, and the idea was to show them that by using just one colour in greater or lesser concentrations, you can say an awful lot about a subject. So that was a nice sunny day when I stood there with my sketch bucket, of course, and painted the house on a lovely October afternoon in the sunshine. I met a friend of mine in Kinvara Village, which is just down the road from me in County Galway, for coffee. And I stood outside afterwards, again, a lovely sunny day, and I leant against a kind of a thing you tie boats up against, I don't know what they're called, and I sketched the boats at low tide, and then I drew that man with his dog in the corner. A couple of days after that, I met my younger daughter for coffee in Dublin in a cafe called Insomnia, just opposite the university where she's studying. And we were the only ones there. It was very early. She had an early stint at work. So it was about 8:30 and we were the only ones there on that Sunday morning. And I like to draw people see-through. You can see that fella there with the counter through him. And that's because it's just a good way to not worry about people coming and going. And I also like the way I included the pumpkin vibe because, of course, it was late October. Here is my husband Marcel, sitting in the sofa, minding his own business and not expecting to be drawn. Well, maybe he was, because I do draw him rather a lot. And in the very, very near foreground, you can see my sketch pocket on this sofa there, bits and pieces from it, I should say. And that's the reason why I get a lot of drawings done, because I bring it with me wherever I go. This isn't my favourite drawing ever of pumpkins. Well, they're those ornamental gourds, and you can't resist them really when you see them in the shop at this time of year, because they're really beautiful. But I'm just not sure if they come out so beautiful when you sketch them. I did my very best, and they're very, very tricky, very, very hard. So I suppose it's good from that point of view as a challenge. Maybe it's the colours I'm not crazy about together. Anyway, the word at the bottom, Iha Hauna, that means Halloween. Sorry, I forgot my own language there for a second. It was a subject for class at that time, and I think it went down quite well. There were certain tricky aspects of the subject that were useful points of, I suppose, technical instruction. So this is an idea that I am working on at the moment, and it's kind of brewing away in my mind, and it concerns the animals that live in the area around here in Galway. And it is a story I'm working on. I'd love to tell you that it's going faster, but I can't. It's just coming at its own pace. And it's basically just, I don't know, total self-indulgence. I don't know why the rat on the left has got that many dishes. Who knows how many guests she had in, or how many children she has. I don't. Now this class is on my website if you fancy doing it. It's one of my free classes, and I really wanted to make more fun out of the Halloween, and I bought these cool ceramic ghost candle holders, and I thought they'd make a lovely subject for a class, and so they proved to be. Here are more foxes living in the area around where I live, and you can see that the fox girl is pouring hot blackberry jam into a jar, and it's exploded and cracked in front of her. And the reason I did that is because that has happened to me, and I was considering, being a bit sort of preachy in the story and telling people, now, don't put the hot jam in if you don't temper the glass first, and that kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no idea. I gotta tell you, when the winter's closing in and you're thinking, oh no, the winter's looming ahead of me and it's going to be so miserable and dreary, you really will do yourself a favour by accepting it, because there's nothing you can do about it, and heading out into nature and seeing what you can do. If you're into sketching, if you're into painting, go and collect some fungi and bring them back to the kitchen or the dining room or the studio and lay them out on the table and paint them, draw them and paint them, because you'll really enjoy it. They're very easy subjects to paint, and then you'll be all peaceful about the upcoming winter and you'll have happy thoughts. Now this one is Killinarran, which is down the road from me. It is the place where everybody swims when it's a fine day, and you can see that the water is quite low in this particular tidal situation, but the water goes up to the very, very top of the quay wall, and it makes for a lovely place to swim in the warmer weather. But I don't mind telling you that when the water is all out and there's nothing there but sand, I always have a thorough look so that I can trust that when I'm swimming there and the water's opaque and I can't see what's beneath me, that I know what's there and what's not there, and there's no monsters lurking under the water, because one has rather an imagination. For this one, I had parked my car to wait while my mum had an appointment at the eye clinic, and she said to me afterwards, why on earth are you painting that car showroom? Why are you painting Castle Motors in Bray? And I said, well, Mum, it is where Dad bought me my first car, which it never even occurred to me what a big deal that was. Like, he just went and bought me a car and presented to me because he figured I'd need one in my new life in Galway, where I was just starting university. And I went on to sell the car to my to a guy that I just started seeing, which I don't know if it was a good idea or a bad idea, but we're still married 25 years later. Now, the car didn't quite last that long. In fact, it exploded one day and drove itself across the road. But that's a different story for a different day. And I really don't know how we stayed married after that. But he thought it was funny, and he figured that if it was his car that had let us down, then he would have heard all about it from me, which I don't know if that was true. Now, my sketch pocket can take me anywhere, and including Houston Station, where I wait for the train once a week for my teaching job in Enniskerry Village. And I love to arrive a little bit early and to get out my sketch pocket and to sketch all around me. Like the guy on the left who always wears that shirt, and I think he has perhaps fallen on hard times, but he loves to play Boogie Woogie on the piano there that they have in the station. And on the right-hand side was a very rich cream cake that I indulged myself by buying, because I'm a devil for those fresh cream choux pastries. But my eyes are bigger than my stomach, and I really couldn't handle it after a couple of bites. Still, made a lovely subject to paint. Well, the sketch I did of the fungi made such a positive impression upon me with the onset of winter that I decided to extend it to the flowers, so to speak, that were dead and dried up in the hedgerows. And I picked some as I walked home from a walk around the block one day, and I took them back to the studio and I painted them. And then I really enjoyed that, so I went further and I did these ones where I started off with a pre-painted page, and then I drew the dead curling leaves on it, and then I kind of darkened up the paint around them. So if you can figure out from that sketch how I did that, then I really think that you should try it as well, because that is a really, really nice technique, and it looked really fantastic. What have we got here? Oh yeah, this is for a submission I was doing for a conference that's coming up. And this is a Polish croissant on the left. It's called a St. Martin's croissant, and it is very delicious, and it's got this like almond paste in the middle and some almonds on top. And then I painted that and actually went to the Polish shop in my local area. And I took it home, and then I ate it with my son Paddy because it was huge. I didn't realise they were so big. And then I did the see-through people technique for the rest of the cafe. I went to a cafe later on that afternoon, and I added the people and the cafe behind it. So we'll see what happens. Now, this one was another in the same vein. It was a miserable Sunday afternoon, and I had nothing kind of to do. I said to my son, listen, I'm going to go to this cafe. Do you want to come with me and keep me company? He said, yeah, let's do that. And it turned into a lovely afternoon. He brought his laptop, and he sat behind me where the plug sockets were, and he did his engineering assignments. And I did that, and we both bought mince pies, and we indulged ourselves thoroughly, because again, if the painting the dead things of winter is a nice way to face into winter, well, eating mince pies is a lovely way to face into Christmas. Here's another one I did of the Christmas market in Galway City. I was with the Urban Sketchers Galway when I did this, and I enjoyed it very much, just keeping everything in tones of red and I suppose Payne's grey. But to my great embarrassment, I couldn't seem to get the new Urban Sketchers Galway stamp to go the right way, even though I did it once upside down on the right, and then determined to stamp it the right way up, I promptly did it upside down again. And once you've done it, you can't really undo it. Here's another example of how useful my sketch pocket is. The left hand side is going to Dublin, and the right hand side is going back to Galway. So I'll probably do a little border around them or something. But it is very hard to draw people in public without getting caught. So, and I really don't want to A, invade their space and make them feel stared at, which they are, and B, have any kind of, issue or situation going on. So there's a little bit of, I suppose, subtle pretending you're not looking at people, but people don't really notice. They're in their phones. So you can kind of rest assured that you can draw people on the QT without getting noticed. Well, I'm not hugely into significance in my choice of painting or subject, but this one is different. I was sitting with my father. You can see my father with his hands together on the right at the breakfast table one morning late in November. And my aunt had just passed away. That's his sister, his younger sister. And he was really having trouble taking it in. As I sat beside him at the breakfast table that morning, It was the morning of her funeral. I was very struck by the sight of the kitchen and how much it reminded me of sitting at the table with my grandparents, my father's parents, so many years ago. And I thought it would be nice to draw it. And I started drawing, just very, very casually and easily drew everything in front of me, working my way backwards. And as I drew, my father asked questions about the arrangements for the funeral. And I was very happy to be able to reassure him and tell him all the bits and pieces that he needed to know. And it was an example of the peace that can sometimes arise from just quietly sketching in companionable silence. Another sketch I made on the bus, this one going from Dublin City out to Bray. And you win some, you lose some. I like this sketch on the left. I think I really caught that man nicely with the light shining on his bald head on the left. And then on the right, it's a complete mess and nothing came out right. So moving swiftly on, this is another sketch of the Christmas market in Galway City. And this one didn't come out very well either, but there you go. Again, another very, very cold day. And I really wanted to populate it with loads of people, but it didn't work out that way. This one is my lovely daughter, my younger daughter, and she's sitting in her grandparents' house. And I've left the space blank on the right to include a picture of my father, her granddad. And she's sitting there with her laptop on her lap and doing her bits of architecture homework. And I loved the colour palette there, the greens and the blues and so on. Here's another one sitting at the train station. I do get my sketch pocket out a lot these days at train stations, it seems. And on the left, it's Bray Station. And I liked those tiny little people sitting on the bench in front of the mural on the wall. And then on the right, we've got two people sitting in Euston Station once again. And in fact, that piano player was just over the shoulder of the lady on the right. Well, I'm very inspired by the landscape around me. It's kind of the reason why I'm trying to do this story set here. And this was one where I just parked outside Tyrone House and drew the trees without any leaves because it's my favourite time of year when from an aesthetic point of view. I just love it. In fact, I used it as a subject for class and I made some more drawings based on it. So, it really made a big impression on me and I hope to do more of that kind of thing. You know, turning landscape into sort of more illustrative sketches and illustrations. This is a very special young lady. She's my cousin's daughter and we were at a family reunion recently and I'm afraid I haven't done her justice at all. She's a very beautiful young woman. I sketched her and she did her own drawings as we sat together long after everyone else had disappeared and gone their own ways. And her daddy has actually bought her a sketch pocket of her own and I'm very honoured and excited for her because I know how fun it is to draw all the time, as does she, because it's a habit that she has also picked up and she, like me, finds great relaxation in it. And I think that I might have had something to do with it because that's what I said to her a while back and that makes me very proud. And for this one, sometimes you just can't shake an idea, and this idea I have of the animals of the area is proving to be one such idea. And this is a kind of a family portrait of all the animals that live in the area. They're not quite all there, but a great many of them are there. I'm not sure if the salmon is going to make the final cut, to be honest, because it kind of lurks under the water the whole time. And here are the foxes again, and they're wearing 18th century clothes because, well, that's the era of the people who lived in the house back in the day, and more will be revealed in good time. And you can see that I'm getting really into the Clog Gaelach, the old Irish script, and I intend to practice it until I'm really good at it. And here is a bunch of prawns that were cooked by my brother on New Year's Eve, and the shells were left behind and they were so pretty I couldn't just leave them there. And it was also a nice way to show the kindness and generosity that my brother shares with us always with all his cooking. He's an incredible cook and it's always a treat when he cooks for the family. So there you go. That is the book of sketches for October and December 2024. And I hope you've enjoyed them. Well, it wouldn't be a Happy New Year without a hello from Reuben as well. So here's little Reuben. He's just still the best boy. He's got a twig attached to him because because he's been running around outside in the weeds and in the leaf pile and all the rest of it. So I just want to thank you for all your support over the year. You've always been so wonderful and so kind with their comments. And I really appreciate it. I just love when a comment comes in and one of you has told me that I've, touched you in some way, or that you've enjoyed the sketches, or even inspired you, which is a comment that's been coming up a lot lately. And it means so much to me because I don't do exhibitions, I don't do galleries. All I have is my sketchbooks and my stories. And of course, little Ruben, who's my constant companion. I'll tell you all about this sketch pocket in another video. It's gone really, really well, and they're all sold out now and they won't be back in for another month. But I will get a back order up on my website, so you'll be able to get one if you want. You'll have a little bit of a wait though, so I'm sorry about that. They're coming as fast as I can make them arrive. And I wish that you will also have some happy creative moments to yourself in the coming months, and to get you through the last of the winter and into the spring. And I can't wait to share with you all the fabulous stuff that is part of a sketching life wherever you happen to be. And I will see you very soon, and happy sketching. If you would like to learn more about sketching, you can join my sketch club, which is my membership, my monthly membership that I have for people who like to sketch with me from all over the world. And you can find more details on my website, roisinecurry.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram, or you can send me a message on Facebook, or you can just leave a comment here and I will answer it as comprehensively as I possibly can with all the facts and figures that go with it. And if you do that, I hope to meet you soon.